Hey, and we're live.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever it is for you. Welcome to the Smart Questions Club presented by Utah Politico Hub. Tonight we're talking about Donald Trump, his surge, his resurgence, and his repeated ability to avoid any kind of damage, no matter what the gaffe. Maybe they're not gaffes, maybe they're intentional. And the upcoming GOP debate. What are the dynamics going to be with Donald Trump center stage? Tonight, as always, got my co-host, Kurt Bentley. Raise your hand there, Kurt. With us tonight, we have two of our Utah Political Hub contributors and managing editors, John Harris.
Hey.
And John English.
Hello.
If you'd like to pipe in and ask any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Send us a message at utahpoliticohub@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at our page at Utah Politico Hub. So just to start things off, let's ask kind of a general question, and I'll let you take this first, John, and then we'll let Sean jump in after that and so on. Why is Donald Trump able to keep so far in the lead relative to the other candidates out there? We have, I think, as of today, 17. Why is Donald Trump doing so well?
Well, Donald Trump's been a public figure for over 30 years. He's very well known, and in those 30 years, he really knows how to keep himself in the media. He knows how to market himself. He knows how to put Trump on everything, and so it feeds itself. He's an interesting story, so the media writes about him, and he reacts, and they write again, and he reacts, and there's 3 times the amount of stories written about Trump as any other candidate. And I would posit that if the media wrote as many articles about Marco Rubio that they do about Trump, then in 2 months Rubio would be leading the polls. But he's not doing those things to get himself out there. And so he's just kind of in the middle of the pack. Whereas Trump, he's willing to say anything to anyone. He's willing to talk to reporters. He's willing to call into radio shows. And it doesn't seem to matter what his answers actually are. The point is that he's out there. He knows how to keep himself on the front page at all times.
So let's talk about that. He's willing to say anything. He's got 3 times as many stories. You think if they wrote those stories about Marco Rubio, he'd be getting the same attention. I mean, Marco Rubio is a nice guy, but...
Well, that's why Marco Rubio's not getting all those stories written about him. He's not justifying the coverage. Trump justifies the coverage because every story you get about him, it gets clicks, it gets views, and then there's going to be a follow-up. And so, I think there's been a lot of media glee at him entering the race where people just don't take him seriously. And I personally still don't think that he's going to win the nomination, and I have a hard time taking him seriously. But you have to take serious the fact that he is keeping himself on top of the polls. Now, why is that? I think they might be overestimating his enemies. I thought the John McCain comment might be the beginning of the end, but there's a lot of people within the Republican base that have a lot of problems with John McCain, and while they might disagree with not calling him a war hero, and they might have hated his comments about being captured, they would still rather have Trump be in charge than McCain because they disagree of all McCain's policy issues. And there's this core base that, and base is probably the wrong word because it's not a majority, but there's always going to be a group of people that will gravitate to the populist, the one who's willing to say what people are thinking, or sounds like he's speaking from the gut, and he gives off this aura of being honest. When you look at what he actually says, you can go back and go, well, okay, that's opposite of what his view was 5 years ago on this issue. Or when he goes to the border and he says he has all this evidence, and they ask him for the evidence, and they say, well, we'll give you the evidence, and he never does. But, you know, people are on to the next story, so it doesn't really matter. I have yet to see any real consequence for anything he's saying right now.
Sean, let me ask you, as a active political watcher from the outside of the GOP looking in, what do you see as Trump's success? Why is he resonating with so many voters?
Because he's an idiot.
Expand on that, would you?
I mean,
Hillary is obviously resonating with somebody, but I wouldn't call her an idiot.
But
Bernie's resonating, but I wouldn't call him an idiot. Why is being an idiot helping him out?
people like funny. It's like the whole, oh crap, what's that movie? I can't think of the movie now. But basically, the whole sideshow aspect of the GOP with Donald Trump is better for anybody from a political aspect, right? I mean, he raises money. He doesn't need to raise money. I guess people give to him. But it's not smart people.
He doesn't need money. He is worth so many hundreds of billions of dollars. He's just going to fund this whole thing.
Right. And I think it's refreshing. It's like the clown car that everybody likes, or the rodeo clown that everybody likes to watch at the rodeo.
But
It's comic relief.
The rodeo clown. I mean,
you've got 16. Let's be honest. Let's be realistic. We've got 18 months of a campaign that we're into. We're in the beginnings of what's about to come next year. Do you really think that he's going to be there at this time next year?
No, I don't.
Go ahead, Kurt.
People like him because it keeps the mind off the real race that's going on, which is the GOP infighting, and the fact that the Democrats can't rally behind Hillary and give her the coronation that she supposedly deserves.
So it's a distraction while
It's the comic relief in between a set at a comedy club, or it's something to keep people from having to think about what they're doing.
But why the polls? Why the numbers we're seeing?
Why are the polls skewed? I don't know.
I think that's an interesting question, Kurt. John was telling me right before we got on, and we lost him, so I hope he gets back on. But he was telling me that he asked his wife what she thought, and she could not name another candidate.
Right. So it could be just that. I mean, when you hear from the outside, Democrats are going to look at this and they're going to say, well, this just shows you everything that's real about the GOP, right? Even if Trump doesn't win the nomination, there are people in the GOP who are taking him seriously. And that's kind of my question. I know they're out there. I have yet to meet one, right? I mean, I will
give $50 to anybody who can give
Trump supporter, but I hear tell that they exist. It's like the animal you read about in encyclopedias, but you never see.
Have you visited the Utah Republicans Facebook group? They're out there.
Yes, I have.
I must never go there. Right? That's like the dark area in The Lion King.
How many polls in 2012 had Ron Paul winning the election at the beginning, right? I mean, it's the Ron Paul.
Did any polls really have Ron Paul winning the election?
Well, when you talk to the common man, right? What does every poll look for? The common man. And so...
common libertarian man, maybe.
We may not have had Ron Paul in the front of the last election, but we did have Herman Cain for a while. Remember?
This is your Herman Cain for 2016.
That's an interesting theory. I'm not sure if I would go for that. I'm not gonna. Sorry, David. This. You can listen in and you can send a comment, but we're not going to bring on other participants to this particular call. But please join us anyway. As we think about whether he is a sideshow or not, I'm not sure because he's been a few weeks now since this has begun.
So did Herman Cain.
What do you think is going to happen to be at center stage at the debate?
I think he'll get torn apart. He'll have a couple gaffes, and then we'll finally start to see his decline. It'll be slow, but it will happen. The problem with this cycle is we have yet to have a debate. I think we already had 2 debates at this point in 2011, and that's when you had candidates start to fall off. That's when you had Pawlenty back off on Obamacare, and he started falling down. Herman Cain's 999, people started to see there wasn't much more to it than that.
I thought it was that he had a scandal. Wasn't there revelations that there were sexual assault allegations against him?
Oh, yeah, those trickle down. Yeah.
No, it was the liberal media. Come on, we all know it was the liberal media.
I thought liberal media and the vast right-wing conspiracy. No, but seriously, if Trump gets up there, there's two things that can happen. One,
Right.
he is beat up and he drops off. Or two, he's attacked and he becomes even more of a folk hero. Who benefits if he does well?
How could he? The thing is, if he's attacked, how could he look like a martyr to become a folk hero? Because he will
Like they're picking
punch
on him.
back to anybody. He will insult every single person on stage.
Oh, come on. The guy's an actor. He'll do the insults and then he'll pretend to be hurt. Right? And you ask who he's popular with? You ask who he's popular with? Democrats. Democratic campaign workers and Democratic campaign managers love Donald Trump.
Okay, so let's say he falls. Who benefits? Who in the second tier benefits from Trump supporters? His main issue, as far as I can tell, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be all the rapists that Mexico is sending to the United States, right?
Well, I think
say that
Trump.
somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but his main issue is immigration. So if he drops off, where are those people going to go to?
They'll go to whoever else wants to pick it up. Maybe Ted Cruz. He likes to talk about that. Not all the Republicans are distancing themselves from Trump, and Cruz, I think, is the one who's trying to snuggle closest. Whereas guys like Rick Perry are saying, "I draw the line in the sand. You, sir, are not worthy." But personally, I think Trump's long game is to get Hillary elected. You know, he donated to her campaign. He wasn't happy that Obama won the nomination.
Sean, tell us why you disagree with that.
Because the guy's a fraud. The guy's an actor. I think he's paid by Republicans to do this, to get more interest in the long, boring debates with Rick Santorum. Come on, let's be honest. Would you rather watch Joe Biden? Wait, hold up. Would you rather watch Joe Biden, or would you rather watch Rick Santorum? Which one are you watching?
You mean Joe Biden or Rick or Martin O'Malley? Because I'd rather have Biden.
I'd rather have Biden too. I'm riding with Biden if he jumps in.
I am actually upset that Fox changed the threshold rules to be you have to have 1% instead of the top 10, because that means Santorum gets on the stage again.
What?
Does this mean? But was it for Santorum? Well, it was more for Carly, wasn't it? Carly Fiorina, so they could get a woman on the stage.
That's why they did it. But because they did it, it means Santorum gets on stage. So instead of having 10, we're gonna have 14.
So how long is this debate right now? 6 hours? 7 hours?
I'd be fine with that. No one else would, but I would.
No, I'm with you.
2 hours.
I'm with you on this.
10-second sound bites.
As long as Donald Trump gets to fire someone at the end of the debate. Okay,
you know,
so
like 9 of them are dying to fit in. You're fired, and they're just hoping that they're the ones who get it in.
Do we want to take bets on who's going to be the first one to use that line on Donald Trump?
Carly Fiorina.
And how long is it going to take? I'm guessing 45 seconds.
You, sir, are going too long. It's going to be 15 seconds into her first answer.
It's whoever they call on first. Really, honestly, whoever they call on first.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we're looking at Ted Cruz being the biggest beneficiary, you think? I mean, Ted Cruz shut down the government. Is that the same group as who wants immigration in the way that Trump has been talking about it?
Have you heard Cruz's rhetoric on immigration? Yeah, they don't see a conflict there.
Okay.
I mean,
But
Cruz
I don't
talks
think they
about
all go there. I think they go more than there. I mean, besides Cruz, I think we also have to consider that we've got Chris Christie is going to pick up some of that as well.
Oh,
Christie?
Chris Christie's already well known in both New Hampshire and Iowa. He's been a big name for a number of years. And if we're talking about just name ID, that's
just
name
imagine. Just imagine it's going to become the Donald Trump and Chris Christie Humpty Dumpty crap fest is what that's going to become.
What?
I'm not sure how. Not sure how to respond to that.
It's gonna be. It's once you get those two going with the East Coast mentality. Once you get and they start talking at each other and they start trying to talk over each other, you're never going to get anybody in else edgewise. So it's going to be the Chris Christie show.
It's going to be the straight talk competition. I can out straight talk you.
Kurt, let me ask you a question. What do you want to see in this debate? What do you hope will happen?
Oh, I'm so depressed about the Republican presidential field right now. I want to see it winnowed down. I would certainly like to see Trump fall on his face and start to go away. But beyond that, I want to see either a bunch of people kind of fall off, or two to three people start to emerge and distance, as maybe notable ones within the group. That's.
Do you have any particular people you'd like to see go away sooner than others?
Outside of Trump, not really. Let me think.
Carly.
You said you're depressed about the field. Is it the sheer size and the difficulty of narrowing in when it's that large?
Yep. I mean, what do we have? We have 13 or 14. Is it what John was saying? Who are going to be in this debate?
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to have to be if there's more of a threshold than one.
I could name them all. I could name maybe 7 of them, maybe.
Sean, what would you like to see happen in this debate? Speaking as more of an analyst and less as a Democrat.
I just want to see lots of sound bites that are going to be replayed over and over again for the next 18 months. That's going to be awesome.
What happens if the sound bites don't come out of the right candidate? If a serious, legitimate candidate, George Bush doesn't screw up, or not George Bush, Jeb Bush doesn't screw up, if Ted Cruz doesn't screw up, if Marco, Carly, what if the screw-ups are really the screw-ups?
Well, and that's a valid point, but I'd love to see a good debate. I don't think you're going to get one until you get down to 4 or 5 candidates. The 4 or 5 serious contenders that are actually going to be able to make a run at it. This is all for ratings because people are going to want to tune in just for the sideshow. I guarantee you. They're going to tout it as the most watched debate ever because Donald Trump, Chris Christie, and Carly Fiorina are all going to be on the same stage, and they're going to try to outdumb Rick Santorum. It's going to be hilariously funny. I think your party's way too in for starting to have serious debates. This is a sideshow for summer ratings because there's no sports on.
It is August. Let's ask one more question and we'll call it. One candidate we haven't mentioned yet, but that is also doing well in the polls, is Governor Walker. What happens to Governor Walker if Trump either fails or climbs? What's your perspective? Either one of you, Kurt or Sean.
Go ahead, Sean.
I don't have one. I probably should, but I don't. I don't know. I haven't. All I've seen are the anti-academics against Walker. I haven't done too much. I've been so out of it this election cycle that.
Oh, don't destroy your credibility. Just pretend
I'm
like
not destroying.
you're in it.
No, I mean it's so early. My party's not doing anything. I've got Martin O'Malley, I've got Bernie Sanders, and I've got Hillary Clinton.
Hey, Bernie Sanders had a money. It's a gas rally in Salt Lake City tonight. So I mean.
But
yeah.
I mean.
No.
Really, he's the Ron Paul of the Democratic Party. It's going to be interesting to see that infight. O'Malley's going to end up, and it's going to end up the Hillary show. Yeah. And that saddens me.
Kurt, what do you want to say?
I find Walker one of the more interesting ones, and I haven't followed him at all. I don't know much of what he's done in Wisconsin, except for his union stance. I think that could be. Everything degenerates in sound bites and starts to get tiresome. But I think that has the potential to actually be an interesting issue. That you could see go back and forth between the two parties during the campaign. But to go back to your prior question for just a second, Dan.
Please.
This debate, when I look at it, I mean, if Trump comes out of it relatively unscathed and things continue on, I think an interesting question to start to ask and start to answer is at that point you say, well, is this still all just media sideshow and circus, or what, if anything, does this say about the about the GOP and about the way candidates are going to have to start to strategize? Because if Trump makes it through one debate, maybe if he makes it through 2, then other candidates start looking around and saying, well, okay, what is the Donald tapping into here, and how much can I tap into this without going full crazy? Like like him, you know, and maybe you'll start to see a little bit of a shift, and it'll start to impact how candidates go. But if I were them right now, I'd just kind of be, well, I'd kind of be waiting for Trump to fail, you know. But if it
Is
doesn't,
Huckabee in?
go ahead.
Is Huckabee in this debate? Is he tracking? Is he tracking to be in there?
I don't know. I think he might be, but I'm not sure. It depends on what the 1% does.
It'll be interesting to see what how everybody, maybe they're going to all hop on Huckabee for the whole marching them to the gates of the oven comment that he decided to drop on us the other day.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And that, that's topical, and that's a way to get a lot of votes real quick. So,
Kurt, I just want to come back real quick to what you're saying there about other candidates watching Trump. I'm a little less hesitant. I'm a little bit more hesitant to attribute Trump's rise to just that he's more interesting or that he's more bombastic. I think there is part of that, but I think also that he's focused on immigration is something that's resonating with a lot of voters. I mean, albeit we're talking 15 to 17%, but still, that's a sizable portion. That's disturbing to me because I feel like that wing of the Republican Party wants to go in a different direction than I think is appropriate.
You know, you bring up an interesting point, because one of the things I've heard, interestingly, about people watching Bernie Sanders, I've heard this in a couple of places now, and they say, they're from Democrats, and they say, you know, Bernie says a lot of things that people like, and he describes a reality that we, you know, kind of want to work towards. But there's also a little bit of an anti-immigrant, America First strain, and it's not very pronounced. But I've heard some Democrats say that they've seen it in Bernie's campaign. And so if we have Bernie on the one side and Trump on the other, yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't followed this closely, whether it's Trump or Bernie Sanders. I've been to a couple websites, but I've seen this pop up in an article or two, and I've seen some comments on social media. And politics converges, at the other ends of the circle with these parties sometimes. And if you have this kind of strain, whether it's Trump's anti-immigration or Bernie's, bring the jobs back home and anti-free trade, I'm probably not doing him a favor. But maybe there's something there to tap into, and maybe it's something to pay attention, in the campaign cycle.
I agree. I think you can't dismiss this to just media hype. I think I don't think the voters are stupid. I think they may be easily distractible, but I don't think they're stupid. I do think there are things that they care about, and whether or not I agree with those people, I think they're paying attention to what matters to them, and that's, I think, relevant. Any last questions you want to toss in there before we call it a night? Anything we didn't cover here? Any final words in the debate? Any candidates you'll be looking forward to see them screw up or shine? I would like to see how guys like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and Scott Walker, how they respond to Donald Trump. I can't imagine what the debate prep is like when you're expecting to have 15 people in the room, and one of those people is expected to be a clown. So I can't imagine what the debate prep is going to be like for that.
I can't imagine it either. But this isn't a question, but watch that immigration thing. I think I've said this to all of you before, but I remember after 2012, after the Republicans got beat, I predicted that they would pass immigration reform prior to 2014. And here we are coming up on 2016, and it hasn't happened, and the leading GOP candidates got an anti-immigrant strain of rhetoric, and it's just, that's a disaster.
I have to be honest, I tend to think this is where Sean is right. If Trump really is doing this to help out Hillary, he's bringing to light a lot of people who are going to scare away Hispanics, which are a fast-growing part of the population. And I don't think they're generally Democratic voters in their principles and the things they care about, but they do care about how they get treated. And if the Republican Party is going to say, we don't want you, they're going to go to the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's disastrous for the Republican Party in my view. You know, and I look at Hispanics. I don't see a block necessarily of people who should be voting Republican. You know, they tend to be more religious, you know, than your average American. But I think they're mixed naturally. You know, they could go both. They could split and go for both parties as a block. But man, the Republicans are just they've got a death if they keep on this track.
You know, I happened to read Jeb Bush's book on immigration earlier this year. I usually don't read candidates' books because they're pretty self-serving. But this one was more policy-heavy on just immigration, so I gave it a try. It wasn't too bad, but I was really impressed that there are some real interesting ideas that could help solve the problems that are out there. But in the current environment, I don't know that anybody cares about solutions so much as they do pandering to get the votes.
Yeah, Sean, you were going to say something. I interrupted you.
Oh yeah, Sean, go.
I don't even remember what I was going to say now. I had a great hot take. But, oh no, I do remember now.
Okay.
Sean Hannity, this is his worst nightmare if this happens. One of his biggest things that he rails on the radio show is all about being the Democratic Party gaining 50 million voters because the Hispanics we're going to be in the next 20 years a majority community as a whole, and you get all those people voting for your party. Sean Hannity's worst nightmare is here. So
the principal population growth driver is immigration and immigrants' birth rates.
On that note, I think I'm going to call it a night. We've gone on a little bit.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, yes, you can.
I just want to say I've done a great job tonight, and I think the Kurt should be fired. That's all I have.
What is going on?
I've got some idiots that are celebrating July 29th Day.
All right.
They ran out in the aerial right in the middle of the damn road. So my Trump joke was ruined, but
stay safe.
I'll try not to have my PTSD kick in.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next week after the debate. We'll find something else to talk about. Have a great night.
Okay. See you.